And Arkansas 33, Ole Miss 21 in the House of Horrors known as Fayetteville, Arkansas for Ole Miss. In a game that was honestly the blame for the game can sit with the decision making of one player. Ole Miss loses 33-21, throws two pick sixes, throws two interceptions in the red zone, and is stopped on fourth down twice inside the one. It is their own fault. They were the better team, but they just took a loss because they read their press clippings all week talking about how good they were. And they let it go to their heads. And they were talking, you think that Ole Miss isn't good enough to have a look ahead game or a drop down after Alabama and everything, but they absolutely did. And it all stems from the quarterback position. It was one of the worst games in Ole Miss history played at the quarterback position. 6 interceptions. Let's see that. 6 interceptions, 200 yards passing, 2 pick sixes. He did throw 2 touchdown passes. But basically, our passing game was eliminated because of the decision making of the quarterback. And honestly, it could have been more. The middle linebacker that only has one arm, because he's injured, dropped an interception or two as well. So it could have been worse. But perhaps one of the worst nights quarterbacked by an Ole Miss quarterback in school history. We apparently read the press clippings, but they lost 33-21. He threw two pick sixes, which takes us to 21-19 victories. Also, he threw 2 interceptions in the red zone, and he was stopped inside the 1 yard line on fourth down twice. It was a horrible game for the quarterback. Now, like I've told you during this whole ordeal, accentuate the positives, celebrate them, and ignore the negatives. You got to let it go out of your head because this is that kind of a season. Elijah Moore caught 11 passes for 113 yards and a touchdown. Jonathan Mingo got on the board with a touchdown with 2 catches. We ran the ball 53 times and threw it 38, so we were about 60-40 run to pass. Jerry and Ely had 112 yards and a touchdown rushing. Snoop Connor had 40 yards, and Matt Corral had 29 rushing. The story of this game was going to be the defense playing well enough to win. They really did. If not for the pick sixes, they would have given up like 20 points or less in this game. And they give up 244 passing and 150 rushing. But more importantly, it was 3 yards per carry rushing the ball. So that's very important. But they played a heck of a game, and it was just wasted. Just wasted. We ended up with 442 total yards. Again, passing yards 200. Rushing yards, we ran for 242. Held them to 150 and 254. About even on time of possessions. We had 7 turnovers. And it should be known that the quarterback was responsible for 7 turnovers. I mean, this is just the worst quarterback game in Ole Miss history. There's no sugarcoating it. 7 turnovers. It was a clinic put on in poor decision making. Trying to do the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Just hung out the defense, getting a little bit of a gain. And you can see the film beginning to catch up. And moving Jalen Jones back to corner, that was probably a good move. Ryder Anderson played a terrific game, as did the linebackers. It was one of those things, maybe it was paralysis by analysis earlier. Of course, they were playing like better offensive teams, but it is what it is. But Ole Miss goes up to Fayetteville, Arkansas, loses 31-21 thanks to the worst decision making at quarterback in school history. Arkansas wins their first home game since 2016 in conference, but we got a long way to go. This is going to be a developmental season, and you're going to see people with bullet points that take this one and stretch all the way to the end of the year, just like they took last week and stretched it all the way to the end of the year, and it just doesn't work that way. Don't fall into that trap. This was a horrible game. This was a game that the better team did not win and literally gave the game away with poor decision making. It's one of the big three things that Lane Kiffin looks for in a quarterback. So, remember in 2017 when he took over FAU with Kendall Briles running this same system, Daniel Parr won the quarterback job. Stronger arm, looked better, looked prettier. Jason Driscoll ended up quarterbacking the team after 3 or 4 weeks. So it's one of those things where you have to be mentally strong. He has to bounce back, but his decision making today was terrible. And that could affect his mental state going forward against Auburn. Something to keep an eye on. But again, Arkansas 33, Ole Miss 21 in the worst quarterback game in Ole Miss school history. I will say that over and over again because it is true. 7 turnovers responsible for by the quarterback position. Either way, tune in for Alabama and Georgia tonight. It's going to be a heck of a game. And right now, Mississippi State is down by a couple of touchdowns to Texas A&M, and South Carolina beat Auburn. So we'll see what's up. We're going to try and not do that thing where we take a data point and just stretch it across the entirety of the season. We've got to be smarter than that. But anyway, we are done with that game, and that'll do it for We've Got Notes. Thank you.